Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I was invited by the appointment committee to appear before them on the 30th. Mr. Chairman, in the morning of the 30th, I called the clerk to the committee, Madam Gifty, to send me the program, the timetable. Mr. Chairman, when she sent me the timetable, my name was moved from on the 30th to 31st. So I quickly called her back and I said he had given me the wrong timetable. And she indicated to me that it was a right timetable, but they have reviewed it and that he was going to send me the new one and that I was supposed to be vetted on that day. Mr. Chairman, before then, immediately I saw that my name had been moved to 31st. Then I called the leadership of the committee, the appointment committee, to indicate to them that I had no notice whatsoever that my name had been moved to 31st. And my people had already started the journey and arrived in Accra, and so I was at a loss. And so both sides of the committee indicated to me that I was going to be vetted. In fact, my chief whip, the majority chief whip, indicated to me that if I had not had any clear instructions from them, why should I panic? And that I should get ready to appear before the committee. So I was held in the holding room for some time. I mean, you are going to be the second person, third person, fourth person, in that order. So at a point in time, the clerk came to the holding room and then called us to come and sit in the room. So I came in. I thought I was even going to be vetted. I saw the minister designated for transport took his seat, and then I had to come and sit close by. So immediately after the minister designated for transport, I took my seat. And then the chairman of the committee instructed that they should administer the oath. That's why I saw that the minority members of the committee started saying they wouldn't agree, and that everything started going wayward.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Designate. Colleagues, do you have questions for the witness?
Thank you, Chairman. So, Honorable Minister Designate, when you saw the commotion, from the video that we have seen, you kept glued to your seat. Were you hopeful that you were going to be vetted in spite of all that was going on?
Very much so, Mr. Chairman. I thought that, well, we usually disagree at the committee meetings, and finally, in most of the cases, cool heads will prevail, and then we continue our work. So I thought it was one of those instances.
So eventually, you could not be vetted. Were you disappointed?
Very, very, very much disappointed, Mr. Chairman. I had to make room for my guests, my visitors, paramount chiefs. I mean, there were quite some number, and it caused a lot of inconveniences to me.
It didn't cost you money. It cost you only inconvenience.
It cost me a lot of money, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that will be all for now.
Thank you.
Any other colleagues? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable senior colleague, how did you feel?
At the time?
When all this was going on around you, because actually it was just right at your time that this happened. How did you feel?
Mr. Chairman, I was so much disappointed, especially with the order in which the vetting was done. Mr. Chairman, you know, in this house, we do a lot of things by seniority. So I didn't understand why my junior colleagues would be vetted, especially when we're all, I mean, the names came at a time, and then I'll be asked to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. I didn't understand. So I didn't understand the criteria they were using. So I was so much disappointed, I must be very honest with you. And I had the opportunity to register that displeasure at a point in time. After all, this is my 4th term in Parliament. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, so with all that happened, and with the senior that we all know that you are young, but you are senior in the House, what is your advice moving forward from what you saw, what you went.
Mr. Chairman, I think we must plan things well. And when we plan, we must go according to the plan. If they had gone according to the plan, all these things would have been avoided. Mr. Chairman, I was told that that came about as a result of the fact that a particular day's vetting couldn't take place. So if I was part of the committee, my humble view, my humble opinion was that they will reschedule that day, those people who were supposed to be vetted that day, so that it will not affect the program, the rest of the program. But if you begin to slow them as and when, it is better to disappoint a group than to disappoint the whole program. So I thought that they should have, that is my opinion anyway. You may disagree with me. So I think that we should plan and plan well. Thank you.
Honorable colleague, but what is your view also on the behavior of our colleagues here on that day? I think that we are not keen on having our children pull tables, tear cables, and all that. But I want your view on that. We have to call a spade a spade. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it was uncalled for. It is unexpected of a member of parliament. My children, when I go home, Daddy, we saw you, you were fanning yourself, and the rest, you were fighting. I think it was embarrassing. Thank you.
Well, Honorable Minister Designate, were you part of the struggle? Did you fight anybody?
The Chairman, I have been approved. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Honorable, but the President has not saw you.
The Chairman, once I have been approved, I have been approved. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Minister for Health, were you part of the struggle? Did you also fight?
Not at all, Mr. Chairman.
So you didn't raise any table?
Not at all. Not at all.
No chairs?
I was calm and I was just watching what was happening. Never.
Thank you very much for attending upon this committee. Or follow-up. Okay.
Mr. Chair, the clerk, she came to give some initial evidence on the other day that we met, but she was standing right by you, to your left side. What was the engagement between you and her?
Well, Mr. Chairman, she kept looking at the direction of Mr. Chairman to see whether or not she could be given instructions to administer the oath. And so even at the point in time when the chairman had given the instruction, she was still cool and she wanted everything to calm down before she does so. So I didn't hear her talk, and she kept telling me I should just wait, cool down. That's all. I mean,
yeah.
Chairman, just because, okay.
Mr. Dominic, on a lighter note, you said that once you had been approved, you were there. I want to let you know that in this house, people have been vetted, approved, and never sworn in. In fact, to add to it, they were actually in the swearing room and they were not sworn in. But that's on a lighter note.
Yeah, Chairman, thank you very much. I know Honorable Akandoh is a very friendly guy. Even across the other side, you have a lot of good friends. So what were you thinking of when Honorable Minister for, who was the nominee then, Transport, he came ahead of you and he went through, but when he got to your time, what were you thinking of? Because I know you have a lot of friends across the...
Mr. Chairman, not even only friends, but I was surprised because they had given their word that I was going to be vetted. I had already indicated that when I saw my name changed to 31st, I reached out to them and they said no. I mean, they have reviewed it and I was going to be vetted. So I heard it from them that they said I was going to be vetted. So I was surprised when, this commotion was going on. I was actually surprised, but hey, there was less I could do then.
Thank you very much for attending upon this committee. In less than a week, you've attended upon vetting committee and then special committee to find out what happened on your day of vetting. We will call upon you again before we finalize our report. Thank you very much.
And I recall exactly what happened.
So can you tell
I would
this
like to proceed without a video.
Thank you. Can you tell this committee what really happened on the 30th of January when you were supposed to be vetted?
Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman, before narrating what I witnessed on that day, I would like to read to you 2 letters I received from the Appointments Committee inviting me to appear before the Appointments Committee. I believe this will establish the basis for me attending upon the committee on that day. My entry into the Appointments Committee room has generated some controversy. I have heard the minority leader and some members of the MPP suggest that I was smuggled in and that I and my guests, including my wife, had no business showing up on that day. Indeed, when I appeared before the Appointments Committee to be vetted, I raised the issue, and the chairman of the committee and the minority leader apologized to me for that press conference and that unfortunate narrative they had put out there, suggesting that I was trying to force myself onto the committee when I had not been invited. So I think that it is absolutely essential that I read these invitation letters, and then I'm willing to also make copies available to your committee so that you can have that in your report.
Go ahead and then make copies available to our clerk.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Chairman, this invitation letter is dated the 22nd of January 2025, addressed to the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Member of Parliament, Parliament House, Accra, and it reads, Dear Sir, invitation to attend upon the Appointments Committee. The Appointments Committee wishes to extend its warmest congratulations to you on your nomination as Minister Designate for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Pursuant to Standing Order 217, I am directed by the Chairman of the Committee to kindly invite you to attend upon the Appointments Committee on the 30th of January 2025 at 12:30 at Committee Rooms 1 and 2 of the Administration Block, Parliament House, Accra. You are kindly requested to submit copies of your curriculum vitae with your signature on each page and tax clearance certificate from the Ghana Revenue Authority to the Secretariat of the Appointments Committee on the 2nd floor, job 600. And it goes on because of time to give the email address of Parliament and all of that. So I just want to, because of time, go quickly to the last 2 paragraphs. You are further requested to provide the names of 10 guests who will be present to witness your vetting. You may contact the Secretariat of the Committee on 0244. 2 numbers are provided because these are open hearings. I don't have the permission of these phone owners to put out their numbers. And then it says that contact these numbers for further clarification. Yours faithfully. And this invitation letter is signed by Mrs. Gifty Jiage Goba, the clerk to the Appointments Committee. Mr. Chairman and respected members of the committee, attached to this invitation letter is this other correspondence I received, which has the heading 9th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, coverage of proceedings of the Appointments Committee, schedule for vetting of nominees, Thursday, 30th January 2025. And the names are provided as follows. Nominees: Abdul Rashid Hassan Pelpo, MP, Minister Designate, Ministry of Labor, Jobs and Employment. 8 a.m. is the time provided. Then, Honorable Ibrahim Salah Muhammad, Minister Designate, Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. 9 a.m. Samuel Nate George is the third name here. MP, Minister Designate, Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations. 10 a.m. The Honorable Kofi Idi Adams, Minister Designate, Ministry of Sports and Recreation. 11 a.m. Then there is lunch break at 12 noon. Then I was to come immediately after the lunch break. It's here. 5th nominee, Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Minister Designate, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, 12:30. So they were anticipating that they will have a 30-minute lunch, and then I will be vetted at 12:30. There are 3 other names after me, if you don't mind. The Honorable Joseph Bukari Nikbe, MP, Minister Designate, Ministry of Transport, 1:30 p.m. The Honorable Isifu Seidu, MP, Minister of State, Climate Change and Sustainability, 2:30 p.m. And the final name for that day, the 30th of January, is Mrs. Charity Gardiner, Minister Designate, Ahafu Region, 3:30 p.m. So this was attached. 8 nominees were supposed to appear on that day. So I want to state for the record that I was not smuggled in. I was asked to be present here with my guests for a session at 12:30 p.m. to be vetted. And we waited and waited and waited until I was prompted at about 8 p.m.
Yes,
thereabout that
just a
I can now come in.
Clarification. You mentioned 2 letters. Is it the attachment that is the second one?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please. So it's the attachment I referred to. So I want to state for the record that it is based on this invitation letter that I duly composed the delegation, which included paramount chiefs from the North Tongue traditional area, chiefs from Anglo, where I also hail from both Anglo and Tong, as chairman, you know. Then the Tepahine, the paramount chief of the Tepa traditional area in the Ashanti region. I've served as Imrantia Hine in Tepa for more than 12 years now. And so I have very strong, alliances with the good people of Tepa in the Ashanti region. They gladly joined me here, my dear wife, and the members of Oral, the Oral team I'm very proud of. I'm told that the reason why I'm coming under a lot of attacks and tribulation is because of Oral, but I remain proud of the work we are doing at Oral. So the Oral team members were here to support me. So that's really the delegation I composed. And I received prompting from the chief whip that we could now come in at about 8 p.m. So we were expecting that we will be vetted that evening, and that our chiefs and these eminent guests will be apologized to, that you asked us to come at 12:30, is 8 p.m. But to our surprise, we entered the room and we faced hostilities when particularly our colleagues on the minority side saw me entering with my delegation. They got very furious, what am I doing here? And they said they were not going to vet me. I was really taken aback. I was surprised that, I have your own invitation letter, and you are saying that I'm not supposed to be coming in. Meanwhile, it's members of the committee, because we wait in a holding area, and then the chief whip came to beckon that we can now come to be vetted. So when I came in, the Honorable Akandoh was just about to take his turn. He was about to be sworn in, and I was ushered on the third seat here on my left to wait my turn, so that after Honorable Akandoh, I will be vetted. And then the whole hostilities began, and the degeneration into violence, what clearly was despicable. We were traumatized, and I was really embarrassed as a member of parliament, because I recall paramount chiefs asking me, is that what you people do here? What's the meaning of that? I mean, and there was one chief who told me he even feared for his life. So some of them had to, quickly just escape, because they didn't know if the violence, the way tables were being carried, and distraction going on, if some of these tables and microphones, PA systems that were being destroyed could be thrown at them. So some had to take flight. I'm even wondering if some of these people will be willing to honor an invitation again to Parliament following what happened that night. And it has to be condemned in no uncertain terms. And to think that after inviting us and engaging in such despicable conduct, traumatizing guests, people you have invited, instead of apologizing, the next day they were holding press conferences saying that we had smuggled ourselves in. I mean, it was like adding, insult to injury. And to be very honest with you, Chairman, it's been a very, very difficult period. And it's as though somebody, and what the impression they tried to create out there was as though there was a certain conspiracy with our members on the majority side. We didn't want to be thoroughly vetted, so we just wanted to be smuggled in so that we can just have an easy pass. But, I mean, this is not the first time I've been invited for vetting. It will be probably my third vetting. I've been vetted as Deputy Minister for Information, Deputy Minister for Education. This is my third, vetting. I do not, fear vetting. I had nothing to worry about, nothing to fear, because I believe that I've always discharged myself in public office with integrity and honor, and there was really nothing to fear. So why would I conspire with majority colleagues to, just be smuggled in at night and just have an easy pass? I would also like to state for the record, for those who, I've heard some people say that when it was getting late.
Honorable colleague, yeah. When we watched the video, you sat quietly with all this thing, bubbling up in you. Why didn't you also join them fighting?
No, it's not in my nature. I certainly was not going to join in any fight. So I just, took things calm and did not want to partake in that. I was just about to respond to those who have said that, it was getting late, and that I and my guests could probably have just gone home and could not have, and probably we should not have responded to the invitation when the chief whip said we can now enter the room pursuant to the invitation letter that we have received. And for those who say that, I want to remind them of the enormous powers that committees of parliament have under the Constitution. I want to, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, read Article 103. I could have really been in serious trouble if, following this invitation letter, I decided on my own that because it's probably getting late, I would not enter the room when I've been asked to appear. Article 103(1) of the Constitution provides, Parliament shall appoint standing committees and other committees as may be necessary for the effective discharge of its functions. 6 then says, a committee appointed under this article shall have the powers, rights, and privileges of the High Court or a justice of the High Court at a trial for A, enforcing the attendance of witnesses and examining them on oath, affirmation or otherwise, B, compelling the production of documents, and C, issuing a commission or request to examine witnesses abroad. So under Article 103 of the Constitution, when a parliamentary committee invites you, it is not a joke. You cannot on your own volition say that you will not attend. They have powers of the High Court. And the Constitution is very clear. There are grave consequences if you do not appear. And Mr. Chairman, our standing orders also, under Standing Order 212, with your permission, Standing Order 212 also provides, quote, a committee shall have powers, rights, and privileges of the court or a justice of the High Court at a trial to A, enforce the attendance of witnesses and examining them on oath, affirmation, or otherwise. So, Mr. Chairman, I respectfully submit that I would have been in very serious trouble if I did not honor the invitation pursuant to Article 1036 and Standing Order 212 of the Standing Orders of Parliament. And that is why I was duty-bound as a law-abiding citizen, as a member of Parliament, to appear before the Appointments Committee, just as I have done. You know, I received your summons yesterday, quite late, but I have put everything aside to be here. I will dare not, disobey the summons, and I will show up because I know the consequences of not appearing when a committee of Parliament has invited you. So, Mr. Chairman, I want to state forcefully that I was not smuggled. I had the basis to be here, an invitation letter, and then a schedule of how I will appear in an orderly manner, all signed by the clerk of the Appointments Committee, and that is why I entered the room on that fateful night of the 30th of January.
Thank you very much, Honorable Samuel. Before my colleagues take their turn, can you just summarize what you saw on that day? You give us what really happened on that day, but you did not tell us what you saw in the room. This committee is to investigate what really happened in the room. Thank you for giving us the background. Now I want to know what you saw in the room on that day. Just a summary because of time.
What I saw was a degeneration into violence, destruction of property. As soon as I entered, I was greeted with hostilities. It was clear to me that I was the target. They did not want to have me vetted that day. And why do I say that? If you look at the schedule advertised and published, the media giving copies, you had some of the persons here who were even taken ahead of me. For example, the Honorable Joseph Bukari Nigbe. He was to have come after me on the schedule that the Appointments Committee published. They did not have any difficulty bringing him ahead of my vetting.
Did you find out why that happened? Because we were wondering, if you have this schedule, why should they vary without informing you?
Nobody gave me any information.
Okay.
Even the Honorable Akandoh, who was about to be sworn in before me, the schedule that I was given, and you heard him confirm that, he was to come the next day. That's Friday, 31st January. But they called him that he could come ahead, and he has just confirmed that. So what he said is really true, because if you look at the schedule, Honorable Akandoh was to be the nominee number 5 to be vetted the next day, Friday, 31st January 2025. And this was published, widely circulated to the media, and we all saw it. The media carried it. So as to how come, even though they were saying it was late and they were tired, they were happy to vet others who were not even scheduled to be vetted before me. They were very happy to vet Honorable Nikbe, who was, according to their own schedule, to be vetted after me. Honorable Akandoh, who was to come the next day, They didn't mind at all to put them ahead of me, and they were vetting them. I believe really, and I have sympathies for Honorable Akandoh. If I had not obeyed the chief whip and entered the room that night, I'm sure you'll have had a smooth vetting, like Honorable Nikbe was. But they felt that once I have entered and I'm in queue, as soon as they finish with Honorable Akandoh, I would then take my seat. Then they said they would just disrupt.
Well, we cannot conclude on that.
No, but I am, Mr. Chairman, the facts are clear that these are people, according to their own published schedule, who were to be vetted before me. They were, after me, pardon me. They were all to be vetted after me. But at the end of the day, what we saw is that they made room to vet them ahead of me. No problem at all. I know that sometimes, I don't know what the exigencies were, if they made special requests. I know, for example, that Honorable Nikbe, his constituency, it will take a whole day of travel to get back. So if probably he made a special request that his chiefs have to go back, I'm considerate. I mean, my chiefs will just need about 2 or 3 hours to get back as compared to him. So I can understand that. But to the extent that they were, making room for others, and then just upon seeing me, they engage in those hostilities. What I saw clearly was an attempt to totally disrupt the proceedings, and they actually proceeded to disrupt the proceedings. I heard the minority leader say, actually threaten the clerk, Madam Gifty Jage Goba, that she dares not swear in Honorable Akandoh, that if you did, you will see. You are a partisan clerk. I heard these words clearly. You are a partisan clerk. Don't swear in Honorable Akandoh. If you dare, you see what I will do to you. Naked threats. And then he got up. The chairman was screaming, order, order. They undermined the authority of the chairman, the Honorable Bernard Ahiafo. They even pushed him aside. What I saw, and I'm sure the videos will confirm that, his table and his mic was forcibly taken out, and then they descended on the tables. And I heard the chief whip. The chief whip was the commander-in-chief of the chaos and the violence. He was directing them what to do. Muntutu, Munyi, carry this, and all of that. He really decided to be the leader of the mayhem. After the minority leader had given the signals, had threatened the clerk not to swear in Honorable Akandoh, then the chief whip took, the minority chief whip, the Honorable Anodompre, then took over and then directed the violence that happened.
We didn't see that in the video, that the chairman's microphone was taken away. Who took the microphone, the chairman's microphone away?
So, what I recall, you had the minority MPs. I recall Jerry, I recall the Honorable Tampuli, and they were in the thick of affairs with the minority chief whip, Honorable Anodompre, directing. And I heard him clearly because the mics were on. And even though I was seated here calmly, I could see and hear all of what was going on. And he said, Muntutu, Munyiyi.
But you can't confirm who took the chairman's microphone.
I would need to refresh my memory on that.
Okay,
on
because
that
we don't have on record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to refresh my memory on that. But I do recall that they took away his microphone, took away his table, the table that you are using now. That's the first table that was attacked, and they removed it, they pushed it, shoved the chairman aside, and they were determined to disrupt the vetting. And they were saying it that there will be no vetting tonight. They will not continue with the proceedings. And then along the line, they asked the Honorable Jerry, who is the MP for Bawe, I'm told. It's a new MP, so I'm still getting to know him. He then came to stand here and physically tried to stop the clerk from swearing in Honorable Akandoh, who was just about to be sworn in. I recall he was standing holding the Bible, waiting to be sworn in. So the minority leader was threatening the clerk, and then Jerry had come to stand by Akandoh. And then the fight continued here. It led to another brawl on this side. And that's when I noticed that some of the guests, some of the chiefs began to walk out, obviously fearing for their lives, began to walk, because it had now moved very closely to where the guests were seated.
Thank you very much for the narration. Honorable colleagues, question.
Yes, thank you very much. Honorable Minister, this is a simple question, and I want a simple answer. So, you did not participate in the scaffold that went on. Is that right?
Yes, please. I didn't participate at all. I sat quietly. And at a point when I noticed that, no, I listened to the Honorable Majority Leader who had come in to calm tempers. He did really exhibit leadership, and I have to commend the Honorable Mahama Ayariga. So I listened to his brief media engagement where he said that clearly we can't continue with the vetting. He was going to make arrangements with the Speaker to see if probably we can continue the next day at the Speaker's conference room. So when it became clear to me that the vetting will not continue following the Honorable Mahama Ayariga's presentation, I then quietly left the room.
Yes. So, will I be right if I were to suggest to you that you were terribly disappointed on that day as a result of the failure of the committee to vet you?
Yes, please. Terribly disappointed, and also embarrassed as a member of Parliament, because the spectacle, I mean, I believe the title honorable is earned. We earn it by our conduct. And what happened that night was really, really disgraceful, really shameful. And the sad part is that it was the same week that this same minority chief whip had brought up a matter on the floor at plenary, that he had been called silly by someone and he would not accept it, and Parliament must be shown respect and all of that. The same week, just under 48 hours, this kind of conduct. So I wasn't surprised the next day there was a lot of bashing of Parliament. And unfortunately, when the bashing is going on, all of us are brought into disrepute and become fair targets. And you can't blame the general public. They say, oh, look at them. When you call them silly, they don't want to accept it. But look at their conduct, look at how they are misbehaving, and that probably even silly is mild, So I really was embarrassed. I was not only terribly disappointed, but I was also embarrassed. And I still feel really embarrassed. And I think that we have a lot to do as an institution and as members of Parliament to reclaim, our image and restore our honor and dignity before members of the public. It's really, really sad that a few of our colleagues will bring Parliament into such disrepute. It's really, really sad. I don't think that this institution deserves this kind of image. It's horrendous what has happened.
Okay, so thank you. That will be all for now.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, apart from the fact that if you ask me, the processes, the vetting process on that day, if you ask me, it was poorly managed. Looking at the number of ministers that was scheduled on that very day, would you also agree with me that the number of delegates, people that follow you, ministers for vetting, also put a lot of pressure on nominees? Because judging from what you indicated earlier, the numbers that came from TEPA and from your own region, Volta region, I guess we had a huge delegation. And the cost aspect may not be so easy for nominees to bear. And keeping some of them here more than a day or two, that might also put some pressure on the chairman of the committee to at least increase the number of nominees that's supposed to be vetted in a day. In future, wouldn't we recommend that we reduce the numbers so that it will not burden most of the appointees?
Well, thank you very much. This is a very important question, and I have served on the appointments committee for a considerable number of years. And when I saw the schedule, I could really foresee that there will be difficulties. I was really, you want to vet 8 people in a day, and before this day, the minority leader had gone on Channel 1 TV and had announced to the whole world that there were 2 people they were looking for. And I saw those 2 people on that day, scheduled for that day, the Honorable Sam George and I, you know, and I was wondering, the way he spoke in that interview, it was clear that we will be targeted and we'll spend a long time. So if that is the case, why do you put the 2 of us the same day with 6 others? So I sensed that it would be. So I remember telling my chiefs that I'll plead with them. They would have to really prepare to wait for the long haul, that it may get to my turn quite late, because I could really predict that Honorable Sam George will spend a long time, and I may even run into the next day. So I'm surprised that after all they had said publicly before the vetting about how they had targeted 2 of us, they put us in the same group to appear the same day with 6 others. Then on time management, I think that as a house moving forward, and I'm glad that looking at your terms of reference, you are also supposed to make recommendations. It does appear that the minority leader is giving unfettered, time. With Honorable Sam George, it appears that he, for more than 3 hours, he was going back and forth, repeating questions, and he just had a field day. When I served on the appointments committee, I remember Honorable Joe Osewusu. He will ask the then minority leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, you should be getting ready to wind up. Yeah, yes, we know leadership are extended courtesies. Members of leadership are extended due courtesies, but it is not a blank check, So the Honorable Joe Osewusu will control. So I think that moving forward, one of the recommendations should be that there should be some timelines. Yes, every other members have 3 questions with follow-ups, but if the minority leader will not be limited in the number of questions, at least reasonable time, if it's 2 or 3 hours, reasonable, maximum, so that we don't have this situation where they go on and on and on one target.
On that note, be getting ready to wind up.
And then, Mr. Chairman, let me also add that I do not think that it does the image of Parliament any good when before vetting, people are targeted. So it means that the vetting really, people already have a prejudiced mind. Some members have a prejudiced mind. It's not really about what you come and say and evidence that is adduced during your vetting. They have made up their mind already. Because before the Honorable Sam George and I appeared, there are many people who were concerned for us that, hey, then you may spend 5 days, you may spend 2 weeks, hey, then they will really grill you and mess you up. It means you won't even get any approval. They even suggested that they wanted some of us to come and see them and beg, and atone our sins before the vetting. And all of that doesn't help. And I think that one of your recommendations, with all due respect, should be that these comments that tend to prejudice the work of the committee, where the committee appears to become a vehicle for settling personal scores, for going after people who probably the minority do not like, because of the work they have done.
On that note,
it has to be stopped.
On that note,
I think it undermines the work of the appointments committee.
Minister